Okay, so today what you have is early First Nation history. We're going to be looking at the First Nations. What's that word again for First Nations? What do we say? It's in the chat.
American.
Native Americans. Good. Okay, so we're going to have a worksheet that goes with this. I'm going to show you the slides, and then the worksheet you should be able to kind of read through and put the information onto the worksheet from the slides. So I'm going to bring the slides up here. This is number 3. Okay. So the slides, it's like kind of like the book, but it's a little bit shorter. Okay. So we can see here, we already said Native Americans. We learned this part already. Native Americans are also known as First Nations people, right? Because they were the first people here. The first country was Native American countries. Now here's something really interesting. Some of the Native American people have been in Wisconsin for thousands of years. Think about that. Not just a couple hundred years, thousands. Thousands, think about that. Thousands of years they've been in Wisconsin or had people in Wisconsin. And here's an interesting part. Each of these groups, they changed the way they lived so they could live on the land because the weather, remember the land in Wisconsin was different in different places? Remember the regions? How some regions had like hills and some were flat and some had rain and some had rivers, all different places. So you have to live in different ways when you're there. So each tribe, their life is a little bit different. We already kind of said, here's our tribal map right now, right? We looked at this the first day. So we can see our tribal map. Let's think about this. Let's look. How is this map here? How is this map? You see this map on the right side that I'm pointing to?
Mm-hmm.
How is this map different than this map? What changed? What changed there? Oops. Again, I'll point out this map here. This map here, looking at my screen, this map here, and this is how it was a long time ago. And now we look at the map today. What changed?
Oh, like like those. It's like right now it's small, but before then it's big.
Yeah, right now it used to be really big. If we
Yeah.
think about it on this map, if we look at it, right, look at how much land the Sioux had. The Sioux had all this land here. The Ojibwe, the Potawatomi had all this land. The Menominee, all of this land. The Ho-Chunk, all of that land. And now look at it today. How sad is this? What a sad story this map tells. Oh, man. Here's the Menominee. Look at this. That little bit right there. Here's the Oneida. That little tiny spot. Look at the Ojibwe. Just boop, boop, boop. Those little parts of land. Think about that. Imagine if somebody took your house away and just said, you have this big house. Here's this tiny little one room that you get to live in.
You could be so sad.
Right? Yeah, you'd be so sad. You'd feel terrible, right? Imagine that that's your culture. Think about that. That's your whole culture. Right? That's your whole entire culture that we're talking about. Wow. That's hard, right? But this is what the First Nations people have to deal with. That's their history right now. And it's not their fault. That's the important thing. It's not because of them. It's because other people came to their land and kind of pushed them away and said, get out of we want the land now. And this is kind of a part of American history that we have to think about because it's part of who we are, that this happened to these Native American people who live here. So we can see here the first people, the First Nations people, right? So let's look at the next slide. So here's some of the First Nation. We'll kind of come back through this, I think. The Menominee people, they're very close to us, actually. And we'll come back and look at this later. Because I'd like to talk about the Menominee and the Ojibwe and the different groups. But we'll pause on that. What I want you to do today is we're going to look at the First Peoples, right? We'll talk about the paleo people, okay? So paleo means really old, ancient, right? Paleo means ancient. So this is a long, long time ago. In fact, we can see 14,000 years ago. Wow. Wow. 14,000. Okay. We have the archaic people. Right now, maybe everybody unmute real quick. Say archaic.
Arcade.
Archaic. Yeah.
Arcade.
Yep.
Arcade.
I hear Molly. How about everybody else? Let's unmute and say archaic. Everybody unmute. Come on. Let's say archaic.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Good. One more time. Archaic.
Okay.
Good. So that's another group of people. Now notice the difference here. This is 14,000 years ago, and this one is 9,000 years ago. So we're getting earlier and earlier. Okay.
Oh,
The next one we get everybody saying woodland Indians.
woodland Indians.
One more time, woodland Indians.
Woodland Indians.
Woodland, India.
Woodland
Yep.
Indians.
And hopefully we can see now we're getting to about 800 BCE. So that's, we say BCE is like before modern times, before Christ was born. We think about BC. Okay. So 800 BC. So that's, if you go back 2,000 years, because it's the year 2000, right? You go back 2,000 years and then back another 800. All right. And then we get to, this one's fun to say. Everybody say Mississippians.
Mississippians.
Yeah, one more time. Mississippians.
Mississippian.
Oh, what a fun word that is to say. Everybody else, unmute real quick. Say Mississippians.
Mississippian.
All right. So we can see the Mississippians now. This is about 1,000 years ago. Okay, so we're not even getting to the Menominee, the Ojibwe, the Ho-Chunk. We're not to them yet. This is before those groups. Okay. So what we're going to do with this, oh, and then we have the other one, the Oniata. Oh, what a fun word that is. Everybody, let's say Oniata.
Oniata.
Oniada.
Oh, one more time, Oniata.
Oniada.
Yep, one last time, Oniata.
Oniada.
And I love Native American words. I love the way they sound. They just have these fun vowel sounds, Oniata. And they just sound like, I don't know, I would like saying them. Whenever they have names like Menominee or right, Ojibwe, they just have these fun pronunciations that are so different than English, I feel like. I love saying
Oh, Mr. T.
Uh-huh.
Before then, they live in the house like that.
That's, yeah, look at that. Nolly's even looking at the pictures and saying, yeah, that's kind of the houses they might have lived in.
Oh.
Right? We can see that. How cool is that? Because all these different tribes, they had different kinds of houses. Yeah. And we'll talk about these mounds that they built. We'll talk about those. We can see this one. We can see the picture a little bit. Look at those houses that they built.
Wow.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can use these pictures to kind of help us understand what's going on. Right? We can see this group. What do you think this group was doing?
Also, those things, they use like a wood, like a weapon to find home.
Yeah, using weapons to hunt. Very, very, not guns and things, right? Very simple weapons. Ooh, look at this.
Are they created themselves?
Yeah, they would make them themselves, yeah. And we can see this group. What are they using? We can see their houses. We can see they're trapping animals with nets and things like that.
Oh,
I mean, I would guess like some of this is actually probably quite similar to some of the Hmong things, right?
Yeah, I think
A
so.
lot of similarity. Look at this. Ooh, what are they doing? And these are the paleo people a long time ago. Look what they're doing. They got just spears hunting buffalo. That's cool. Okay, so what you're going to do today, we're going to use these slides. We're going to use slides 6 through 12, okay? And you're going to take and go to this comparing early Indian traditions. And what we're going to do is fill in these tabs here using those slides. When did they live in Wisconsin? Well, this one I can write in here. What was the first one? The first one was, let me go share this tab. So once we click in here, here's the worksheet. The Paleo Indians. When did they live in Wisconsin? That's slide 6. We can see this is 14,000 years ago. Okay. And then we can say, what did they eat? Right? So then we look at the slides and try and figure out, what did they eat? What kind of food did they eat? And then what are some of the important things we want to remember about this group? So we're just taking the information from the slides and putting it into this graphic organizer. And we're going to do it for each of the groups, answering those questions. Okay?
Okay.
So right now what I want you to do is go to that assignment and open the slides and then open the worksheet. And we're going to fill this in. This is going to be due on Monday. Okay? And then we'll have time to finish any late assignments that you haven't done also, because this one shouldn't take a lot of time. Okay? You guys have any questions on what we're doing? I'm going to be checking to make sure you're on your worksheets. Okay, I'm going to check to make sure you're opening your slides and on your worksheets. Questions?
No, I'm good.
All right.